How you doing, everybody? It's Eric from RuleTheWasteland.com. Looks like we got 8 people already. That's got to be some kind of record. Normally it starts with like 1 or 2 people, and then everyone. So, we lost one. It's down to 7. So today, at some point, I'm going to be giving away this the farmhand knife by Lord and Field. It's got kind of a classic-looking knife with I believe this is called a sheep's foot blade. Pretty cool. Lockback, came out of a battle box. So we're going to be giving that away. Haven't decided exactly what method I'm going to use yet, so stay tuned. And if you haven't already, go on to rulethewasteland.com. On the sidebar, sign up for the email list. It's always a backup method of communication. It's the best way to get a hold of me is by email. Comments and YouTube messages and all that are iffy. And in case anything happens with YouTube or whatever, email list is the best way to get in touch with me. So hi, everybody. What's up, Michael? DD Prepper. What's up, Dem1? I can't say it. D3M. Will Barks checking in from Arizona. How you doing? And Squirrel Bong. Oh, hi. Oh, hi, Squirrel Bong. How you doing? So today, mainly what I want to talk about is just the increasing level of economic and civil unrest that we're seeing all around the world, especially in France, and all the bad signs that we're seeing in the U.S. That even though a lot of things on the ground are looking decent in terms of, jobs, stuff like that, stock market overall is still really high, but just behind the scenes, nothing has changed. Everything's still very just pumped up, false in terms of the economy. And the Trump effect has gotten everyone feeling a little more optimistic, but in general, nothing has changed. Nothing about the fundamentals has changed. None of the major problems that we were talking about years ago, thinking that things would have been much worse by now, none of that stuff has gone away. So it's interesting to hear people like Peter Schiff talking about this stuff. And they're not wrong, but it's weird to see how this stuff keeps getting kicked down the road, how they keep managing to just stretch this stuff out a little bit longer, keep Ponzi scheme going just a little bit longer. So it's really, really bizarre because, if you'd asked me 10 years ago, I would have had a much different picture about what the economy would have looked like today than it actually is. But none of that stuff it's not that we were wrong about what's wrong with the economy. It's just none of that stuff has actually come to a head yet for various reasons. It's kind of like that's why timeline predicting is so bad, and trying to time the markets because of this or short things is really just iffy, because it's kind of like looking at a bridge that is fundamentally structurally unsound. Predicting exactly when it's going to collapse is impossible because it depends on how many people are driving across it. It could depend on the weather conditions. It could depend on all sorts of stuff. Without, there's just no way to calculate exactly when this thing's going to fall. That doesn't mean you're wrong when you're saying, hey, don't drive across this bridge. And people are just going, hey, I'm making money. I'm getting to work every day. This is making me money using this bridge. And like, yeah, but one day it's going to collapse. And if you're on it, when it collapses, you're going to be in a world of hurt. And that's sort of the way the economy is right now. Until it collapses, it looks fine. And the more and more people using it, it actually looks like it's helping everyone. And for the time being, it is. But with those fundamental problems there, it's really dangerous to not be ready for them. Let's read some of these comments. Good evening, everyone. Let's talk about prepping. I will talk about prepping. I got you covered. Hello again, Michael. Florida Gator here. Go Gators. Greetings from Michigan. What's up, Michigan? Don't drink the tap water. Word up, G. Howdy to Damien. It's a facade. Your nickname is a facade. What's up, Silver Graham? Hi, Rachel. Thank you. My hair. It's one thing I got going for me. It's my hair. Hello to the Valley Girl. If you guys have any questions, throw them up there because don't have a whole lot of pre-planned topics for today. So I want to go over mostly questions if you guys have it. As soon as people throw up some topics, I can usually start going for. Most of the time, I try to plan a few topics ahead of time, like specifically. The recovery of the economy is a facade. Oh, yes, it is. Yeah, it definitely is. The stock market especially is particularly bloated. And when you look at what's really going on, all the gains basically from the past few years have been in what's called the FANG stocks. It's Facebook, Apple, Netflix, Google, and something else. I think there's 2 A's, Apple and Amazon. Yeah. And not based on fundamentals, just based on the money has to go somewhere. And these companies are trading at way, way skewed price to earning ratios and things like that. They're really not worth, or the stock isn't worth as much as it's currently selling for, but there's just nowhere else for the money to go right now. And I mean, that's why you're seeing the real estate prices too. But the funny thing is, all the same things that were wrong with real estate in 2008, most of them are happening right now too. So I actually predict that we're going to see a pretty significant decline in the real estate market, similar to what happened in 2008, sometime within the next 1 to 5 years, I would say. But it might be along with everything else too. It might not be isolated to just, I mean, not that it was last time, but it could be even worse. My well is perfect, no public water for me. Glad to hear it. Still, I would still run it through a filter like a reverse osmosis or even a Berkey, something like that. Because even well water could be contaminated with microplastics and endocrine disruptors and birth control and everything else is seeping out in the water. That's why I'm using my stainless steel container here, and I try to store my water in glass jugs, not plastic, and I run everything, even the tap water, I run through a reverse osmosis filter. What's up, Michael Smolensky? How should Seminole fans grieve this holiday season? They should just repent and come join the fold. They should no longer, there's no need for them to suffer. All are welcome in the Gator family as long as they kiss the emblem on my Gator hoodie and beg for forgiveness. Will all money be lost in banks' life savings? I don't think it'll literally be lost in the sense of like stolen. You might have trouble getting it out as cash. And I think the value of the dollars, it is being stolen on a day-to-day basis through inflation. I think that's what you have to worry about. I think just you shouldn't really have money just sitting in a checking account anyway. There's really no reason for that beyond a few $1,000s. So I would keep your direct emergency fund anywhere from like $500 to $2,000, something like that. I would keep in literal cash somewhere in your house. $2,000 or anything really under $5,000. That's not really enough that you're like losing out on all these gains, you know. So the benefits of having a few $1,000s in cash in the event of an emergency, I think, is outweighs the amount that you're losing by having even getting your 2% in a money market fund or 1.9% in a checking account or something like that. So I think our money will be stolen from us in the sense of the inflation stealing the value. We might see like bail-ins and things where money's taken directly out of checking accounts. But if that sort of stuff starts happening, things are going to be getting so hairy that that'll probably be the least of your concerns, unless you have, you know, tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank. And if you have tens or hundreds of thousands just sitting in the bank, I'm not an investment advisor, but I certainly would put that into something else. Even in the stock market, I think would be better, but I would try to diversify. You do stocks, you do real estate, certainly precious metals, even like a small amounts in crypto. I wouldn't put anything major in there, but, you know, a couple $1,000 or something like that. But basically, you just want to be diversified. Money sitting in a bank isn't really doing anyone any good, and except for the bank, and it's not safer there, really. Happy Sunday to Caleb. Noble Group is going under, and that could bring down Deutsche Bank. Yeah, I've heard a lot of weird stuff happening with Deutsche Bank. It has more derivatives than the GDP of Germany. When it goes under, so does the banking system. Yeah, I mean, there's really none of these large banks that are free from. It's all one big convoluted, corrupt system. So, and all of them are way overextended in their derivatives exposure. So there's no way that any of these banks go down without all of them going down, so to speak. And you even saw that with 2008. I mean, it took like there's U.S. politicians threatening martial law if they didn't do these massive bailouts and stuff. And the next time it happens, it's going to be bigger, and there isn't going to be an ability to bail them out, even if there is a desire on the part of the politicians and people. There certainly isn't on the part of the people. But and you see companies like General Motors and stuff that were getting bailed out, and now we're saying, hey, thanks for all the money, and we're going to take our factories to Mexico still after being bailed out with taxpayer money. It's absurd. I only keep enough in to keep my accounts open. Right. I mean, you need to have some money in your accounts. It's easy to pay bills that way and stuff like that. But you shouldn't keep extra money in there. You shouldn't keep saving, like your savings just sitting in a bank account. I don't recommend it anyway. What's your thoughts on gold and silver antibiotics? What's going to be more important? What's going to be worth more? Antibiotics are one of those things that are worth everything if you need them, and otherwise will seem fairly useless. You know, it's kind of like if you have a deficiency of a vitamin or something, most people taking some certain vitamin will be like, I don't really feel anything different. But if you have a deficiency of it, taking that could seem like a miracle cure. And so antibiotics is just like anything else. It has a very specific purpose that it's the only thing that can effectively do that for you. And if you do need it, it literally would probably be life or death. If you need antibiotics and don't have any, you could be in serious trouble. So that's one thing I don't have. I need to do a little more research on which ones store well, look into the fish and antibiotics and stuff like that. Because as far as I know, for a relatively small amount of money, certainly 50 to 100 bucks or something, you could get a couple courses of a general wide spectrum antibiotic that would cover, if you get an infected cut or something, or just any sort of general infection, urinary tract infection, or anything like that could be, or eye infection that could threaten you. There's a couple different broad spectrum antibiotics you can get for veterinarian purposes that could save your life, relatively cheap. And as far as I know, I've been mistaken in the past about how poorly they store. Apparently they store much better than I initially thought. And they do lose some efficacy after, years and years, but they're pretty useful still and serve their purpose even after years of storage. So certainly better than nothing. Yeah, and things like garlic and silver even do have some antibacterial properties, but it was not really certainly better than nothing. And better, probably more so for an external infection, like on a cut or something like that you can physically apply either colloidal silver or garlic or anything like that too. For any sort of, internal infection, it's going to be a lot more difficult to treat with something like that. So I think in general, gold and silver is obviously going to be more important for wealth preservation, and just in general, most people would probably be better served to have gold and silver. But since I think I'm going to research this and try to do a video on it soon, but since I think you could probably get a good covering of your bases of antibiotics for somewhere around 50 to 100 bucks, I don't think there's any reason not to do both. So that's why I plan on looking into it more. As preppers, what are we missing here? Let's grow subs. Let's do it. As preppers, most of us are lone wolves, but safety usually happen in numbers. Yes, and that's going to be a constant issue for preppers, because there's risks associated with being involved with other people if they're not like-minded, things like that. So it's good. If things get really bad, it's going to be hard to survive totally on your own. If you're at the level where you have to do like security and guarding and things like that, or if there are roving bands of people trying to ransack houses, then it's going to be really tough with just 1 or 2 or 3 people. And at that point, I would probably look to just add people to the group. Even if you didn't already know them, it would be a necessity at that point. For anything below that, like any kind of event below a major shit the fan scenario, I don't think it's as big of an issue, and you're actually probably better suited to have less people to worry about. If we're talking about escaping the wildfires, if we're talking about hurricanes and blizzards and small, regional shit the fan stuff like that, I think most of the time it's easier to have fewer people. But in a serious shit the fan event, I think numbers are pretty much going to be mandatory to have some sort of group, because otherwise you just won't be able to effectively do all the things you need to do and cover your back. Stocking up at home is my comfort zone for investing these days. Yep. I would just always caution people not to just focus on just end of the world stuff. It's just like I was just talking about at the beginning. 10 years ago, we might have thought things had gotten way worse by now. And we're still paying bills, still paying rent, still worrying about future. If you had a 10-year-old kid, now they're in college or whatever. So make sure you plan for life too, not just for the end of the world. Ford didn't need a bailout. That's true. I've just started prepping. How much should I try to get food, medicine? I have water purification straws. I have said in my my plan before is to pick a time, whatever you feel comfortable with. I'd say anything up to a year of I want to be prepared for blank, whether that's a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year. If your instinct is beyond a year, then you should start looking seriously at like a homesteading type lifestyle. But if that's not an option, then I'd say 6 months is a totally normal, totally reasonable amount of time to prepare for. And if you don't have anything yet, start with a month. Just say, I want to get a month. I want to be ready to go a month without having to worry about anything. And that gives you a very specific things that you need to get. A month's worth of water, a month's worth of food, month's worth of candles or whatever, just any small things like that. And then once you get to that point, then you can try to up everything to 3 months or 2 months or whatever until you get to 6 months. So just look at the things that you need: food, water, a way to cook the food, a way to purify the water, some like light, a little bit of protection, things like that, a month's worth, and then just start from there. Pick up Nurse's Drug Guide on Amazon. Not a bad idea. Yeah, first goal is 3 months. That's why I always say start somewhere between a month and 90 days is a good goal for most people, because it's not hard, and it just gives you, it doesn't seem overwhelming. You know, it's very easy to imagine and come up with on your own what you would need to just be able to go a month in a disaster scenario. Do you think Q is a distraction? Trump's been in for over 2 years and no changes. Red flag law and California fires look like they are man-made. New boss, same as the old boss. I think Q, my take on Q is that it just doesn't matter. I've seen enough things that I think he's at least somewhat connected in either the intelligence community or the administration, but I've also seen plenty to know that he's just making predictions just like any other YouTube talking head and doesn't really have any sort of massive, grand plan. Or there's been so many things that he said that have just been completely wrong. And then he comes out and says like, oh, well, some of these things I have to say is misinformation to confuse the bad guys too. So at that point, it doesn't even matter if he's 100% legit, because if someone's telling you something and you know that he's going to purposely mix in falsehoods to confuse people, then why bother saying anything to begin with? Who is this helping? And the only answer that anyone keeps saying to me is morale. Like, oh, it improves morale. And like, first of all, that doesn't really mean anything in a general sense of like, what is different now than if Q hadn't been said anything? All the stuff that he's putting out there, people have to come up with their own interpretations of. They see what they want to see in it. And if something ends up coming true, then they say, yeah, that is what I meant. And if it ends up not coming true, then they say, well, that's not what I really meant. You interpreted it wrong. And the vast majority of very specific claims that he's made have not panned out at all or been completely wrong. So I don't think he's a complete fraud in terms of like purposeful disinfo agent, but I think he's just a person making just like any other people on YouTube making their predictions and their hopes about the future with, and he has some small connection to either the intelligence community or the administration, but I think it's irrelevant mostly. I don't think it's a very good thing. I don't think it's very hurting anything, but it's certainly not making a difference. What are your thoughts on iodine for radiation? I think it's good to have some. I have these right here, and if you certainly if you're planning on surviving, potassium iodide tablets. If you're talking about surviving any radioactive event, you're going to want to have some of that stuff on hand. Some people have this like, oh, if there's a nuclear attack, I'm just going to die anyway, so I don't want to bother preparing for it. It's one way to go, but that's a pretty easy, pretty cheap way to at least say maybe I'm on the outskirts and just prevent any bad radiation. Every little bit you can do will help. Yep, that's true. Yeah, peanut butter, pickles, but I'm trying. Yeah, anything helps. I mean, because like, look at the stuff that's actually going on in the past 50 years that you would consider a shit the fan scenario, at least in this country. Most of the time, having the ability to leave your house quickly is probably one of the most important preparations you can do with all the important, documents and wealth and family members and pets. And then other than that, the ability to survive a financial issues of some kind, so having an emergency fund, stuff like that, and then small amounts of food and water. If something like if you're in Flint, Michigan, and you figure out the water's bad, having an alternate source, or just anywhere where it's disrupted, power outages and weather things, stuff like that. That's the type of stuff that you're most likely going to have to deal with. So things like a little bit of extra food, a little bit of extra water, so you don't have to rush out to the store or worry about all these events when they happen. That's stuff that's going to make a difference most often. So don't worry too much about these huge events. You'll get there eventually, as long as you just keep adding to your preparations slowly. Always checking for things I don't have or need more of. Not a bad idea. Yeah, and that's what I was just saying. Let's talk about prepping. The big things come with time. Think of the day-to-day needs and wants and start filling those. Yeah, exactly. That's all you need to do. Smith's has a case lot sale every now and then that's relatively inexpensive for food prep items. Yeah, keep an eye out on that stuff, and especially if it's something you use on a day-to-day basis and can cycle through, or it's something that you can store long-term, and put it in a bucket, last for 20 years or whatever. Seeds are good if you have the place to plant them. I just did candles, lamp oil, toilet paper. Yeah, and little flat hand crank flashlights are okay. I prefer the other ways of charging them, but something like that headlamps are good, and extra batteries, those are very useful. Candles obviously work. They store really well. They're just not that great for actually using for lighting, but they're certainly better than nothing. Yeah, baby wipes or toilet paper. Just go through your normal life for like a week, I would say. Carry around a little notebook or something like this, and every time you use something, just jot down, what would I do if this, if there was no store right now? If I couldn't go to the store for a month, what would I do to take care of this need? And if it's something like toilet paper, then you say, okay, well, I just have to have some here. So I would just write down toilet paper, wipes, whatever, the toothpaste, and just make sure you have. And first, just go through that list before you worry about all the actual prepping stuff. Just make sure you have a month's worth of all the things that you need on a daily basis. And it can just be more of the same things, or it can be a different version. Like it might be, you know, wipes that you don't normally use, like those compacted toilet wipes, and you can store away and not touch them, or just get more of the stuff that you do already use and cycle through it. Either option's fine. Just depends on your preference, your financial capabilities, your storage space, all that sort of stuff. So that's the first thing you should do for prepping, is to see the things you use on a daily basis and like see, okay, I just turned on a light. What would I do if there's no power? I would need some kind of light. So you can do flashlights and the batteries. You can do the oil lamp and the fuel. You can do candles and matches. Just, you know, and that'll cover most of your bases there. And after that, then you'll have a really good base, and you can worry about the fringe stuff. All right, paper plates, plastic forks. Yeah, I've said that before, and a lot of people gave me shit for that for some reason, with weird complaints, because I'm like, you know, when you are, especially out here where water is going to be a bigger issue than in most places, I don't want to have to use water to wash a dish or something when it's just like a little bit of rice I got out of my solar oven, or some legacy foods that I cooked up, and you're just eating it real quick. You can eat it out of the pouch certainly too, but a pack of paper plates, you could cover 6 months worth of paper plates for, you know, $20 maybe. And you can use them for parties and holidays and stuff like that too. And someone was talking about, like, what are you going to do with all the trash? The marauders will see you. And I'm like, first of all, this marauder business comes up so often, it's hilarious. Everyone, if you're still alive, is going to have some sort of refuse that you're going to have to get rid of somewhere. And if paper plates, the whole stack is this big, which means even after you've used them, the stack is still only going to be that big. Just put them in a stack. You could leave. You wouldn't even have to do anything with them if you wanted to. You could just leave them in your house in a bag or something. Let them dry out. You could certainly compost them. You could burn them at night. No one would see the smoke. Or you could just set them outside your back door and no one would know. It's kind of a bizarre complaint. You get your water barrels off the concrete. I did not. They're sitting there. They're full. So I have to look into that, because I'm not sure what the actual risk is of leaching up from concrete through plastic into water that I'm going to be filtering anyway, but I'll research it. That seems like one of those things that a lot of people repeat without actually having any solid evidence of it actually being an issue. Of course, I could be wrong about that, but I did some basic research. I couldn't find any. So I'll do some deeper research and see what the actual risk is from that. I've been in survival prepping for 35 plus years. I could almost retire on what I have spent. If I had it to do over, things would be different. Exactly. I mean, that's one of the things to think about. Like, you look back, you read Mel Tappan books from the 70s, and it'll kind of put things in perspective, because you think about, like, if you went back to that time, you wouldn't be prepping like you are now. I mean, obviously having perfect knowledge of the future is different, but the point stands, like, you're only doing this because you think you might need it. If you knew you wouldn't need it, you wouldn't do it. It's not just, most people aren't just doing it because they really, really love doing it. Like, if I knew for a fact that I wouldn't need water, I wouldn't have barrels of it sitting out there just because. So you want to balance that with making sure you get what you want out of life and not just be doing it out of fear. That's why I think having a specific time frame, a preparation level of a month, it's fine. 3 months, that's fine. 6 months, that's fine. Whatever. But just picking it, taking care of it, and then getting on with your life is more important. Because if you just say, I want to be prepared, there's no end point. You're constantly having new things you can think of. What if this? What if that? And it's just a mess, and it's not healthy psychologically either. And it causes you to sacrifice in other areas of your life that you don't necessarily need to. So I think keeping that stuff in perspective is important. Hey, Lord Among Us and everyone. What's up, Eric22552? Fire starting kits from Rock, Nevada. That's important. Some way of starting fire. Bic lighters are an incredibly solid way of starting fires. They're resilient. They last a long time, even in storage. You certainly want to have a backup, like some matches, some fire steels, but a couple Bic lighters around will start thousands and thousands of fires for you. Like just a couple 5-packs of Bic lighters would certainly last you 6 months in a lot of situations. Sardines are good. Rocket stoves are very good if you have the fuel for them. They don't take much, but you do need some fuel. So if you're around anywhere with woods, a rocket stove is a great idea. Here, there's not a whole lot of fuel for it, but you don't need a whole lot. Sun oven is awesome too. I have one of those, obviously. Good to have multiple methods. I think about this a lot. We need to prep for a future without emergencies as much as emergencies. Yeah, exactly. You want to succeed in any environment, right? You want to maximize your thriving. So that doesn't just mean giving up future gains just to be prepared for kind of outlier scenarios. Most of the time, there's not going to be any, because even look at the major places like Venezuela, stuff that's happening in France right now, like these major shit hit the fan events. There's still plenty of people that are living normal lives, and still in most of these situations, these people would be better off if they had just been like socking money away for 30 years. You know, like certainly it's so easy and cheap to just get a month or 2 or 3 of supplies, a few $1,000s, so that shouldn't get in the way of your long-term plans. But it's when people totally ignore long-term stuff because they think it's not going to matter, and they just have to get ready for this event that's going to happen, and it never happens. And it might one day. That's why we're preparing. But you also have to be prepared for life as usual. Do you do any canning, fermenting? Just made 4 quarts of sauerkraut today. No, I'm not much of a Susie homemaker type. So I like to get stuff that I can just pack away and not have to worry about it, crack it open, not have to do too much boiling and canning and stuff. I understand it's a useful skill. I probably should do it, but I don't. Just diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease. Oh, I'm sorry, man. Told me I can't work and then won't give me disability. My job needed a doctor's note, then they won't hire me back. Well, that's crappy. I would try to talk to a lawyer or something, see if you got a case. I agree, less water to use to clean them. Agree with the plastic utensils and paper plates. Don't want to waste water, soap, or not. Yeah, exactly. It just takes less resources overall to buy that stuff than it does to try and clean the. I mean, you're going to need a little bit of cleaning supplies for your pots and pans and whatnot, but stockpiling razor blades for shit fancy area. Good or bad idea? Something wrong with that. I would just focus on what I was saying. Like if you have 6 months of preps, there's no point in having 2 years worth of razor blades. And also razor blades certainly aren't necessary for survival. You know, they're good for maintaining your hygiene level that you want. And I have some, but I don't have to shave that often either. So it's certainly good to have them, but not an essential. And just make sure you don't not wasting money buying tons and tons of razor blades when you don't have the same amount of time of your other preps. Learn skills. That's true. Always helps to know things. Free flowing well is awesome. Wish I had that here. I'm looking for plastic water containment for a walk-in tub. A plastic water container like that you can fill. They have those like bags that you can put in a tub and fill with water in an emergency, if that's what you're talking about. You see, I'm kind of behind now. All right, you buy insurance for a reason. Prepping is insurance. Exactly. You buy insurance and then you move on. You don't like constantly worry about driving around or your car getting destroyed. You take the precautions necessary to drastically reduce your risk without having to do anything crazy, and then you just get on with your life. 50-pack of Bix for storage, probably a good idea. Vaseline cotton balls, yeah, will be fire starters. How do I store flour? Vacuum sealed some, but after a while it released its seal. You can put them in buckets instead of a vacuum seal. You can try to do a better vacuum sealing with Mylar bags, and then use an actual iron to melt the bag shut. And that should and then put some oxygen absorbers in there. That's a good way to do it. In the forest, we have light or not. Yeah, if you can find those like fat wood and stuff like that, that'll work really well. Use flame to remove hair. Yeah, exactly. You can singe your beard off if you want. Or invest in a tiny little pair of like scissors or trimmers of some kind, so that you could just keep it like, short, but not have to actually shave clean. But it's pretty easy to store a lot, months and months worth of shaving supplies in a box maybe that big. Even if you go through a blade a week, that's not that many different blades that you need to be able to shave for 6 months. So just make sure you're not going crazy in one particular area for no reason. I have not ever tried home brewing. Would you recommend it for bartering? If you want, my thoughts on bartering is there's no point in storing anything that you wouldn't use. So if you drink beer and would like to be able to drink beer, then go ahead and you could probably use some for bartering. But there's no point in stocking up something that you're not going to use, because you could also barter with the food and ammo and things that you're going to use. So might as well just get more of that. But if you enjoy doing it also and you enjoy beer and you would use it if you couldn't barter it, then sure, go for it. My mom died a few years back and left me a bunch of cotton balls. She had hemorrhoids and used them to comfort the bunghole. All right. Are they fresh ones or they used cotton balls? A 4-pack of SpaghettiOs at Walmart, $3.48. Not bad. I don't eat a lot of that stuff though. Valley Girl, the flour particles, yeah. Can also add moisture absorbers between the baggies that way. Yep, double it up. O2 absorbers. This thing jumps around a lot on me. A fish antibiotics in the same as human. You can buy it online. Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. Lowe's food grade buckets. They do. They're pretty cheap there too. And you might want to get the Gamma Seal lids if you don't want to have to seal them with like silicone or something like that. Try to get the Gamma Seal lids. But the basic prescription for a long-term storage of stuff in buckets is a food grade bucket, Mylar bag, oxygen absorbers. You put the food in the food grade bag, throw in a couple oxygen absorbers, seal the bag shut with either an iron or an impulse sealer or something like that. Close the bucket, and then you can close it with either some silicone or use a Gamma Seal lid, something like that, and it should last for many, many years that way. And you can throw in if you're in a humid place, you can throw in some desiccants or moisture absorbers too. So all the long ones for a regular tub, but it'd be nice to see the proper one to fit that specific tub. Yeah, if they have it, I can't help you with that. I'm not sure about the options for all the various tub bags. What's good for bartering is only going to, I mean, there's no way to tell because you don't know what people are going to need. The only thing that you know that people are going to need are the things that everyone needs. So that's why, you know, like food, water, toiletries, ammo, medicine. So, but that's stuff that you're going to need too. So that's why I say just take care of yourself. If you want to get extras of that stuff, go for it. And then if you need to, you can barter that. I don't really think there's a need to try and figure out what people are going to want and store that if you're not going to need it. Just get more of the things that you know you're going to need. That way you can barter with it, and if not, then you'll just be able to use it. Pop off is $8 a handle. Yeah, if you want to do it, it's great for anything but drinking. But yeah, I mean, vodka and spirits like that are very have very many uses. They're very versatile. Used for antiseptic. They've been used for fuel. You can drink it. You know, even pop off. Technically, you can drink it. Try charcoal lighter fluid instead of Vaseline and cotton balls. I think I'd rather try charcoal lighter fluid instead of pop-off to drink. Bleach, yeah, disinfecting. Well, for disinfecting items, you don't want to use it for like disinfecting a wound. You can use hydrogen peroxide or alcohol for disinfecting a wound, and bleach for disinfecting items. But you can use alcohol to disinfect like tools or, you know, surgical implements or needles if you got to stitch someone up. So it's useful for things like that too. What's your favorite freeze-dried food meals? Right now, I've been researching the legacy foods, and I like them so far. I haven't had a lot of the other various brands, just a couple, and I don't remember which ones. But I have a couple more of these to taste test, and I'll do some videos on that soon. But they're good with me so far, liking what I see. For whiskey, but vodka is better for more purposes. If I had to drink straight up, I would take whiskey. Vodka is pretty harsh, neat, even the good ones, and especially the bad ones. But yeah, overall, I mean, technically speaking, you can do almost anything with any of the 80 proof liquors that you could with any of the others. It's still just the alcohol in it that you're relying on, and they all have the same alcohol content. So like basic rums, vodka, whiskey, they all just have 40% alcohol. Gamma Seal for sure. Glass 1-gallon jars from restaurant supply stores for pickles, and then were used for other stuff. I do not like plastic. Yeah, I try to avoid plastic as much as I can, just for health reasons. I mean, in other ways, plastic is usually better because it just doesn't get shattered. Certainly, I mean, but it can't take the heat and things like that glass can, but it's not as fragile. What do you think about water straws, the purification ones? As far as I know, they work well. When you get those cheap filters, you just never know for sure if there's something wrong with it. I mean, but if there's not something physically broken in it, then it will work fine. And life straws and things like that, I think, are great for bug out bags. I don't think they should be your main water purification option simply because you don't want to have to just drink everything through the straw. You want to be able to filter larger amounts of water at once and then store it because you can use it for things other than drinking too, and not have to like spit it into a container or something like that. Toilet paper, Costco. So many Taco Bell sauces stored up. Hot sauce or barbecue sauce is a great idea to have at least a little bit on hand, because you could take a lot of things that might be pretty foul and just smother it with barbecue sauce or hot sauce and make it palatable. Make some bread out of like a cattail, or you could be eating some baked cricket and worms. And if you just covered it with a little Sweet Baby Ray's or Louisiana hot sauce or something, and you're going to be fine. Pop-ups for bartering, keep the good stuff for yourself. Get some old Tito's or Grey Goose bottles and fill them up with the pop-off for bartering, and then just be like, here, you can, oh, the lid just came off, like in Caddyshack. What will we do for that? For what? I missed what you said. What will we do for 19 single-ply toilet paper rolls go into 1 5-gallon bucket? Good to know. And then you can dry. Yeah, because with toilet paper, you do like there's no shelf life issues, but you can't let them get wet. If you have a big thing of paper, a lot of times crickets and roaches and stuff or silverfish and everything will get in there. So you still want to keep them packed away pretty tight, not just in their plastic containers. At least put them in a tote. You don't have to worry about them being totally cut off in the way that you do for food items, but you do want to keep, because rats and mice and all sorts of bugs will tear it apart if it's in an attic or something like that. Some stuff TV, dry shampoo. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, dry shampoo is an option. I mean, sure, it might be more expensive. I think it's good to have a little bit of both. I'm counting on being able to take at least some showers. And obviously my hair, I would probably cut it even shorter if it was a major shit hit the fan event. Just antibiotics will last for years, but keep them rotated, even though they will be good for several years past expiration date. You don't want to go into shit the fan with them already at the expiration date. Yeah, exactly. Just like with anything else. And it's getting to the point with these live streams, which I'm really happy about, where I might not be able to start keeping up with all the questions. So if you really want me to see your question, you can super chat me, and I'll make sure I get to it. But I think I can still get to most of these. Anybody have an answer for the best additive for long-term water storage? I mean, additive-wise, you're just initially purifying it and then keeping everything from getting into it. I don't know of any additive that's going to keep like actively purifying it past a few days. Even like bleach and the really harsh ones, they kill everything that's in there. But then once that's out of there, 6 months down the road, if anything new got into it, it wouldn't still be purified. So you're just killing anything that's in there then sealing it up. So that's why I think bleach is better for treating it afterwards or getting new water. There's no real reason to treat tap water that you're putting into a barrel or something like that, unless you think you're going to have issues with algae or something. But again, after months and months, the bleach will not have an effect anymore. That's why you have to keep treating your pool. If you stopped treating it, the algae and everything else is still going to grow in there. So for long-term storage, just have a plan for filtering it and purifying it when you use it. And don't worry too much about doing something with it when you put it in there. I don't think it's really smart to try and be able to drink your water immediately after opening it up after it's being stored for 5 years. I think you should always count on doing something with it, filtering it, boiling it, something like that. Go bald or have someone who doesn't mind grooming you like a monkey. Oh, I'm never going bald. It's not in the cards, my friend. I'll just make it a little shorter. All right, what do we got? Penicillin, amoxicillin, 7 years is what I read. Yeah, I'll have to look into it. I don't know what the general idea is of how long it should last. Take a plastic bladder, fill it, hang it from a tree, rubber a tube to the Sawyer Mini, and let gravity do the work. Yeah, exactly. You can do gravity fed. And things like the Berkey, which I have up there, are gravity fed automatically. Rice and supplements per month, rotating sauces for flavor. Yeah, rice or beans or some sort of grains like that, you could survive for months on that alone. It wouldn't be pleasant, but you add in like a multivitamin, you're probably not even going to have any issues. But I don't recommend that simply because there's no reason. But there's no reason why you can't just make the bulk of your food storage rice and beans for pretty cheap, and then add in things for flavor, for micronutrients and things like that. ideally, I think it wouldn't be. It's not ideal to have your diet based purely on carbs like that, but we're talking about an emergency situation, and it's just very difficult to store fats and proteins for the same price and for the same, you know, amount of labor than it is to store grains and carbs like that. It's just so much easier and cheaper. Fleece skin so soft. I have vacuum sealed quite a few rolls of toilet paper. Yep, that's doable too. It crushes them pretty good. Saves a lot of space. Use a steel pot or bucket and wash your butt with water. True that. Don't want to get that monkey butt where your ass gets red like a baboon if you don't wash it. Self-Sufficiency and How to Live It by John Seymour. Benadryl, that can be useful for histamine reactions to anything. Put a silver coin in your water. That can help a little bit. I wouldn't count on it killing everything, but silver does have some antibiotic or antibacterial properties. Zone bars are just another type of like a granola bar, power bar kind of things. And I like Cliff bars. They're like $1, a little less than $1 if you buy the packs, and they have like 250 calories per bar, which, you know, they're not that big. So you have to be careful not to just use them as like snacks because they're loaded with calories and carbs. But 5 or 6 bars, and you're talking about an entire day's worth of calories, and you don't have to cook them even like an MRE. You don't have to heat them up. And so you're talking about $5 for an entire day's worth of calories. They don't last a long time. I would probably not count on storing them for more than 2 years. But it's a good option to have something to just be able to throw in a bug out bag or something, keeping some of those on hand. Ear infections, tooth pain. Yeah, I mean, you're going to need a tooth pain. You probably actually eventually have to do something about it, pull it out or whatever. But for infections, that's why I was mentioning antibiotics earlier. Chlorine tablets from the hardware store for purifying water. Just make sure you get the amounts right and then let it vaporize off a little bit. You don't want to drink like incredibly potent pool water, because one of those tablets is made to make an entire pool basically too chlorinated to drink. So you want to be real careful. Something like a powdered calcium hypochlorite or simple bleach, unscented bleach, sodium hypochlorite is your best bet probably. Pool shock probably has a lot of other chemicals in it and way too powerful for even small amounts of water. And I don't know what the ratios would be, how much you would have to chip off one of those pellets or something. Algae spores fall into pools. Okay, so here we're nearing the end. I'm going to read some of these. But the Lord and Field knife that I mentioned earlier, I'm going to give this away. Got the sheep's foot blade, lock back. Never used this. It's from the Battle Box. Comes in a nice old school looking greasy paper and this tube. I'm going to give this away to the first person, and I'm not at the end, so I won't see it for a minute, but the first person who posts the name of a traditional ounce, what it's actually called. So you have troy ounces, and what is a normal ounce officially called? A blank ounce. So the first person to put that in my chat here, I will send this to you if you email me where you want it. So pool shock, what do we got? Cisterns are good if you have the space and the money to do it, if you own the property and whatnot. Beef jerky's good. Here we go. Avoirdupois. That's it. It is an avoirdupois ounce, it's called. Which is, I have no idea why, but that's technically what an ounce is called. There's troy ounces and avoirdupois ounces. So Shrek PMC, you win that one. So email me and give me the address and name that you want this sent to. Did you get one of the other ones? I think you may have gotten one of those. I can't remember. If not, congratulations. And if you did, double congratulations, I guess. So I will be giving away another small knife, not some other prizes on my email list. So even if you didn't win this one, or if you're watching this after the fact when you're not live, encourage you to catch them live next time. I've been doing them every Sundays and sometimes in between. But sign up for my email list, because I will be giving more prizes on there too, and on the Twitter as well. It's @MongoAggression. So go on my website, ruletowasteland.com. In the sidebar, you can sign up for the email list, or in the description of almost any of my videos. Solar panel flashlights, what do we got? Trichlor is a chlorinated solvent. I don't know anything about the specific brand names of that stuff. Talk to someone who worked at a water filter company. To test your filter, add a few drops of blue food dye to a quart of water and filter it. If it still has blue tint, it isn't good filter. I would say that's probably true. I would also say that just because it removes the blue dye doesn't mean it is removing all the other stuff that you want it to. But if it can't at least remove the dye, it's probably not the best filter. I missed the giveaway, guys. We're buffering on me. Bummer. Well, sign up for the email list. I've been giving some stuff on there, and nobody's claimed anything. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a rule of thumb. So if other stuff can get through, and there's certain filters that will tell you right off they're not going to filter certain types of things just because of either the size of the particle or how it's bonded with the water. Not every type of filter does everything. Eric, you should go over the prepping matrix you did a while ago. I think it would help a lot of people. Yeah, I plan on actually making an updated video of that because that video is so old that a lot of people haven't seen it. So I'm just going to do a totally new video revisiting that topic with modern examples of each category and things like that. I think it had something to do with pirates in the old days due to how they used silver by the weight. Yeah, I mean, something like that. It was a French word, obviously. Got mine last time. Thanks, Eric. Awesome, Johnny. Glad to hear it. Ship that stuff out. So, yeah, I've been able to ship the prizes out pretty much within a day or two of my live streams the last few times. So people have gotten them pretty early. So I'm going to be doing a review soon on 2 movies that I watched. One was a hilariously cheesy short that I stumbled across on YouTube. It's really bad. It's called EMP. It's totally cheesy, terrible acting. I was laughing my ass off. And so I'm going to be able to do a pretty funny video on that. I mean, there's still lessons that can be learned for prepping and survival, but we'll also be able to have some good laughs. So go watch that. It's called EMP. It's on YouTube. It's like 19 minutes long or something like that. It's a really cheesy short film. See if you can get through the whole thing. Not easy. And then I'll do a breakdown of that on one of my videos too. How do we get on the email list? Go to my website, rulethewasteland.com, and in the sidebar you will see a little box to sign up for it. It will say, where are we at? It says sign up for the email right below the Amazon thing. Or you can go to the link in the description of pretty much any one of my videos, and there's a link to sign up for the email, of my recent videos at least. EMP was so bad. It was really, really bad. There was another short film. Someone from the chat recommended it to me. I forget what it's called, and it was actually really good. And I'm going to do a video on that one too. If whoever recommended that one to me, it was about 30 minutes too. Also, can't talk today. Tongue's all dried out. And I forget the name though. So remind me of that one if whoever recommended to me is watching, because otherwise I'll have to search for it. But the EMP, it was called like After Armageddon or something. No, that wasn't it. What the hell was it? I forget what it was called. Who Won the Knife? It was Shrek PMC with the answer of Avoirdupois. But yeah, so I'm gonna we should come up with a prepper trivia game. Yeah, I should. I'll probably do one and maybe put it on the website or and make a contest out of it. See how many people can. I like to be able to do it, find a way that people can't Google it. Come up with an app or find a program or a free website that gives you like 5 seconds, to answer the question. So you have to already know it, and you can't have a chance to Google it. Because I prefer to go with people who just know it already. EMP was a 20-minute one. The one I'm thinking of that was like 30 minutes, or maybe shorter than that. But it was pretty good. But I forget the name. But it was like 2 brothers, and in a nondescript kind of shit the fan scenario. Yeah. I'm not saying you Googled it because you got it right away, but I'm saying I'd like to set up in a way that people can't just Google it. That if they're not just happen to be there and act quicker. Especially if it's like multiple question quiz of some kind. Yeah, most of the time people have answered so quickly on these prize quizzes that I'm sure they already knew it, not Google, and that's what I'm hoping for. But for any sort of like quiz thing I want to do, I'd like to it to go to the people who already knew it. Pretty cool. Some of those shorts are well done. Fields post-apocalyptic short film. Is that it? Fields? Let me try to Google that. It doesn't sound right. Maybe it's a new one I can watch. Yeah, that's not the one I was talking about, but I'll watch that. I think it was on Amazon or something. Can't find it. I watched that Fields one, but that's not the one I was referencing. Like Jeopardy, quick, yeah, something like Jeopardy. You ever watch the History Channel After Armageddon with the annoying kid and wife? I have not yet. Um, I have it on my list in Amazon. I think. Is it Echo? That sounds familiar. I don't think that's it either. I'll look it up real quick. But I'll put these on the list. How are you liking your move from Florida? I really love Vegas out here. I really like it a lot. It's not as easy. The garage sales are shitty, so I'm not making as much money. Probably gonna have to get a job, but I do really love the weather. I love everything about it out here. It's great. But I'm just gonna have to get a real job one of these days. Did you ever watch because especially with the way they're choking out the YouTube ad revenue, it's really shitty. Pretty fart smellers, yes you are. My mom keeps calling me. Okay, catch you later. All right, have fun. You got dog, lots of dog food. Yeah, everything you need on a daily basis. I mean, if you're going through your list like I was mentioning, and you were feeding your dog, you say, you know, where would I get that if there were no stores? I have to have it. Bam, dog food goes on the list. Yeah, thanks for stopping by, everyone. If you have to leave, that's fine. This will be up on the channel. I probably won't leave my live chats up there forever. I'm probably going to have them after 3 or 4 months, probably drop them off just so there's not so many videos and give people extra incentive to see them while they're either live or relatively recent. But if you can't catch it right away or you have to leave early, it will be on the channel for at least a little while. So, what is it? I'm trying to find this movie. I can't remember what it was called. I'm gonna end up watching like every shitty shit hit the fan short film on YouTube to find it again. There ain't no stinking queue. And I still have reviews. I know I've been talking about these for a while. I got to get my ass out of the house and do these, but I have reviews coming on this power pack, solar power pack, which I think Bibles and Barbells just did a review on that too, which I haven't watched yet. I don't want to watch it until I do my review because I don't want to cloud my judgment. That's why I've skipped it. And I have this thing, which is really cool. We'll have to see how well I think it can work for an actual shit the fan scenario, but it's a electronic fire starter. You can charge it up and it starts fires for you. Pretty easily. So something like that in conjunction with a battery pack that you can charge up might be a decent combo. And this also you can, charge with just a little micro USB. So pretty cool looking thing. Probably not the most rugged option or the most long term, but pretty cool nonetheless. If you have a good electrical setup like solar panels or something like that, finding rechargeable options are going to be a good deal. Your dog is pissed when I eat his food. Yeah, my my girlfriend's dog, I used to taunt him by like pretending to eat his bowl or eat the food out of his bowl, and he'd just go nuts. In your movie, Humongous, didn't Max eat the dog food? He did. And then he gave the dog a little bit of food, and then he gave his prisoner the last little scraps when the dog was done. Fancy Feast is where it's at. Have you seen the group Pentatonics? That is I think so. Do they do like a cappella covers? I think I've seen some videos of them. Yeah, I was actually surprised at how well this has been working so far. So I'm gonna do a test on it. It does look like a cattle prod. Shoot! Ha! Cat food is like 20 times richer. It also like smells way worse. I'd rather crunch on some dry dog food than have to take a whiff of cat food. Yeah, I mean, this is a lighter. It's the same thing. It's just a big one. It's a matter of time. I wonder what the stock market would do on tomorrow's opening bell. Who knows? We'll see. I don't think it'll be anything too dramatic. We'll probably see some kind of rebound with they juice it up somehow. Depends on. I mean, I don't know if they'll do another rate hike. Like I mean, like we can't just keep having zero interest rates, but it's kind of ridiculous that they've done like 6 or 7 rate hikes while Trump is in and didn't do any basically for Obama. Like they probably need to space them out a little bit with how the economy is really weak fundamentally. But long term, it doesn't matter. They can't fix the problems. And whether or not they raise the rates, things are going to get gnarly. Dog food recalls lately. Hey, probably safer than romaine lettuce. Salad has killed more people than a lot of things lately. Well, I will try to find that. I'm going to wrap this up here pretty soon. I'll try to watch all these short films, but it's not the one that I've already watched. I'm trying to find, but I'm going to do a review on the the EMP, the really bad one, and that should be hilarious. Should be hilarious. But again, thanks for watching, guys. Sign up for the email list. I'm going to be giving away some more stuff. Stay tuned to the channel. Go ahead and like this video if you haven't already. Give it a thumbs up. Click the notification bell on my channel if you haven't already, because otherwise YouTube doesn't feel like they should tell you when I make new videos. So thanks for stopping by, everyone. Congratulations to Shrek MC for winning the knife. Make sure you email me at rulewasteland@gmail.com where you want me to send that, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching.